Welcome back, day 2 of the event window here for the J-Bay Open, and we are mowing through the rounds, and we're into the second heat of round 3. John Florence is up against a fellow Hawaiian in Dusty Payne, and we do have some waves rolling our way at the moment. Dusty Payne getting himself the inside and committing. Let's see how he can start this heat. He threw everything at that first section. Obviously knows that he's going to need not just 1 but 2 huge scores to overcome John Florence, who despite has had a couple of hiccups throughout this season, is still way up the top end of the ratings, in 3rd position at this stage of the game. And here he goes on a clean little inside runner. John will be fired up after watching Geordie, and he is just keeping busy. A tricky little wave, a lot of manoeuvres, but I doubt this is going to be in John's top 2 at the end of this clash.
Well done, mixing it up nicely with a couple nice little snaps and a cool little reverse there. So yeah, I agree with you. You know, ideally he doesn't want to hang on to that, but it's nice to have a little bit of insurance. You can see both these surfers took off way up at the top, no priority at the start of this heat. It's always the case, just a little bit of cat and mouse gamesmanship to start off with no priority. Now the boys will settle in. They'll most likely sit a little wider, waiting for those dreamy waves. How's John with ease right here, just gonna pop a cute little reverse, picks the nose. I don't know if there's anyone better on tour at that little reverse. So again, just a backup score for John, but hey, it's a great little foundation for him to build upon. Amazing that maneuver right there is extremely easy for John. He's got so much practice over the years popping those things, it's like an off the lip for him.
Amazing how sometimes turns like that don't even register with the judges based off what we see at this level these days. But he can expect a reasonable number. John Florence, in fact, it has dropped to 6.5. He gets the early lead. And Dusty Payne, he fell on this ride. John's picked off the end section and looks set to see him take to the air here. He throws that reverse and plants it. So already putting a couple of pretty solid rides together.
Just 2 moves, but that last error was pretty big for John. So, you know, again, I feel like it's going to be a backup score. Clean snap, getting to speed up. He says, this wave's going to close out. I'm going to go for a big reverse. But that was pretty big. That wasn't nowhere near in the same company as that last cute one on the small wave. This was much bigger on a closeout section. Watch the tail. Inverted towards the beach. That's very technical, way riskier, much more committed effort. So that should allow this score to go pretty decent for just 2 moves at J-Bay. Job well done for getting a couple of quick scores, but I agree with you, Ronnie. Now for him, he needs to go outside and wait for that bomb.
Just on 25 minutes to go. Dusty Payne sees something he likes in this wall. Use priority here. Bangs his first section. Sets that tail free for a moment. Second move strong. Just getting on rail. Busting through the lip once again and tucking into the barrel, and a nice little tube for Dusty here. 27-year-old looking for a big finish. A huge frontside air reverse attempt, but unsuccessful. And John Florence chasing him down the line here. A smaller version of the same turn, successful from Florence. Looking to drop a 5.5.
It's such a good seat in the house right now. These guys are just battling and going straight at it. To see the aggression out of John after he pulled his maneuver off to kick out to get back on his board, to look over his opponent and realize that he had to kick it into overdrive to get back into the driver's seat, to get out there to take the position for priority. You can just tell there's so much going on behind the scenes that he's working on. I love it.
We're going to see this lofty air reverse attempt from Dusty here, Ross. This would have been well rewarded had he planted it.
Yeah, he just got a little too extended, you know, on that air. He wanted to get that projection out into the flats. Instead, he went kind of up high. Beautiful opening hack right there from John. So great rail work. Now he's mixing it up, keeping that momentum down the line, making sure he keeps pace. Probably didn't like that last snap that much, so he thinks right here, I gotta be a little more aggressive. That was pretty huge right there. Even though it was flatter, he definitely hucked his tail towards the beach and made that air pretty aggressive, very technical, committed move. Nice way to finish. But I love the fact that him and Sebastian Zietz, as injury replacements, have kind of found their mojo.
And he's got himself back in this heat. His wave, it was rewarded. As you mentioned, he got some damage done on his first couple of turns, a 7.5 for Dusty. But John Florence increases his heat score total with an 8.33.
For John, you know, he got the lead, extended his lead, and regained priority.
Here we go. This is Dusty Payne. A lot of speed, but just couldn't get to that ramp soon enough. He pulls through the back. Well, no matter what unfolds in these next two heats, the first heat of round 4 is going to be... And here we go. John Florence can afford to go all out now. Looking to drop a 6.5. Just bogs down a little bit on that first turn. And he's going to get out of there. So Dusty Payne with a great opportunity now. But equally, this is a very tough heat for Dusty Payne because he wants to requalify without having to rely on a QS finish in the top 10. Here he goes, chasing a 7.34. Bit of wind out there. Let's see if he can take to the air. Just some nice flowing maneuvers at this stage, and a very tricky end section hit. Drifted that tail and reeled it in.
It was a medium-sized wave. It's all we've had so far in this heat. We really haven't had a big set wave come through yet. I like the speed from Dusty. Pretty good sync up with you know, matching these moves. A little flat on that tail slide, but nothing too horrible. And again, great aggression on that move, but a little on the flat side. You know, ideally he would like to get really vertical up in the lip and get over the deck of his board. But really good rhythm from Dusty. You know, no kinks, no hopping around. Straight from the bottom to the top. No wasted energy there. This is where it might be a good idea for John just to kind of...
If they can get the speed up that they need, they're still going to do the above the lip tricks, but it's not as easy to do that big carve on the face.
So a little trickier than it looks from the beach. Here's the water angle, and you can see that bump that Strada's talking about.
One thing that is still encouraging despite the sea breeze is it's just a small breeze coming onshore.
A lot of risk in that move. As we see, John putting priority to use. A little caught behind at the moment. And that wave's not going to go in his top 2. So nervous times for Florence, but he might get himself into position maybe down the line. No, he can't get to this one. Well, let's see what happened on John's last ride. He just was sold on this one by Dusty.
So I mean, it's just a pure block. It wasn't a wave that John was really interested in terms of, you know, grabbing a big score. It was more like, I just don't want to give a great wave to Dusty and let him grab that score he needs. So
a minute and a half to go. And he's going to have to make the call. Is he going to swing on this one and chase down that number? 7.34 required. It looks pretty good from the takeoff. Drives up onto the face. Just to set up arc for this section. And a speed float gone wrong. Dusty goes down. Just over a minute remaining. John Florence gets priority back.
Maybe playing defense just a little too early rather than getting rid of that 6.5.
And the hooter sounds. John Florence gets the jump on Dusty in a pretty close heat. Less than a point separating the competitors.